Hi everyone, it's very good to see you. My name is Forrest, and today we're going to be talking about Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed. So just recently finished this game. The original was developed by Pandemic, who is pretty well known for a number of titles, but I think especially the old Star Wars Battlefront games. They went on to be acquired by EA, actually not so long after this game had come out. And this remaster was done by THQ Nordic. Physical boxes in the modern day gaming space, not too interesting, no insert of any kind. But I think that the art really speaks to the style of the game that we'll go on to talk about today a little bit more. One of the things I like to do when kind of looking up these videos is explore either the old release, the new one, see what was going on around the time. In 2006, when the original game came out, not so much interesting news. The game went on to do pretty well critically. It sold some 350,000 copies at like 13 million in revenue, which is pretty solid in North America. But aside from that, along with the acquisition, I think that this series just kind of went on the back burner until recently. I guess someone picked it up and said, hey, we should do something with this franchise and IP. And so I do wonder what THQ Nordic's plan is, having redone both the first and second title of this. But let's talk a little bit about the game itself. The story is somewhat entertaining. You play as Crypto. He is this alien who's come to Earth and is basically just messing with humans. And at the beginning of this game, he is currently taken over as president of the United States. And the Soviets and the KGB have been watching all this drama that unfolded in the first game and say to themselves, hey, these aliens are pretty dangerous. Let's nuke their mothership out of space. So they do exactly that, and it kind of strands Crypto on Earth. And it gives him this mission of going across a series of locations: San Francisco, London, Tokyo, Siberia, the moon, and kind of putting the pieces back together, trying to stop the Soviets and the KGB from eliminating him, and also stopping another alien species which has arrived on Earth. Throughout, you'll meet a number of characters, all very... the game has a 1960s aesthetic, so you'll meet, hippies in SF, MI6 satires in London, and Godzilla in frickin' Japan. And the game itself is very satirical, it's funny, it's childish in the writing and the humor. It's something that I could see, 13-year-old me having had a lot of fun with. And, so many years down the road, I still find it entertaining. Can be goofy at times. And the main story missions are pretty great and cinematic. The side content also being well written, but maybe not as entertaining. And I'll be honest, I did find myself skipping a number of cutscenes here or there just to get to a full completionist view of the game, as there's a lot of content to unpack in this game itself. So that's kind of the story lens. From the world of sound, that old, like, tropey style 1950s music and noise for aliens. Yeah, a lot of that is here and present. And it does make for, a fit to the aesthetic and appeal that they were going for. Music-wise, none of the music really sticks out in my mind, I'll be honest. Which is kind of funny, because a big part of the collectathon piece of this game is going around and finding jukebox collectibles, of which the music never plays in the game. I don't know what they're doing there. But overall, yeah, again, it's just kind of middle of the road. The story, goofy, cheesy. The sound, no pros, no cons, it's just there. Graphically, this being a remaster, I guess I would say, it does look pretty good. The style is very cartoony. I think it fits kind of the writing that I was talking about, and the overall aesthetic of the game. I think that 3D models of characters look very funny, and have these over dramatic and emphasized features from, like, their mustache style or their clothing, and it all, again, is this satirical set piece of kind of whatever city they're in that Crypto's exploring at the time. Otherwise, you know, the game has just, it looks nice. I don't know what else to say there. I guess as far as remasters go, it's clear that the developer did a little more than just upscale the title and re-release it. And so that's one thing I can say I would really ask for. And so that's exactly what we got. On the performance end of all that, I did experience a number of crashes throughout. Fortunately, the game has a very generous autosave system, but I did find myself experiencing those crashes more frequently than I would, of course, want to. And the most important part, we got to talk about the gameplay. So how does this game work? Essentially, you are in this open world kind of free roam environment. And as Crypto, you can go around, you can do missions, you know, making your way towards the main story or completing side missions for, say, a cult or for the army or, you know, so on and so forth. There's a number of different avenues to explore on each map. Once you've done the mission, you know, you get an objective and you'll have these optional objectives too. So it might be like, you know, destroy these buildings in this area. And the optional objective may say, well, while you're there, you know, use your mind control powers to explode the heads of 5 of your enemies. And so what I found myself doing was trying to do as many optional objectives as I could under the understanding that I could come back and replay these missions and complete them later if not. And this flow of gameplay was really fun. But the thing that made it the most fun was having a co-op partner along for the ride. So Destroy All Humans 2 gives you access to an arsenal of weapons, tools, equipments, including a saucer to kind of help you complete these objectives and whatever means you find necessary, pretty generally. It's not a very difficult game. And so, you know, put all those things together. It's creative, it's fun, and it's exciting to play with another person. And that's something that I really recommend if you're going to take on this title. I found myself having and enjoying the experience a lot, and I think you would too. It controls really well. The gameplay is really tight. When you need to get from A to B, you can do it in a number of ways, at a number of speeds and efficiency. I think one of the things that I'm not too fond of in the gameplay sense is that a number of the trophies are tied to kind of these world collectathons, and they don't really give you a good means of identifying where all these pieces are. And so the best way you can go about that is if you were to just, you know, get a map and download it offline and then figure out, okay, where is everything? Because otherwise they give you this little scanner that will give you some short-term notice of like, hey, you're near a collectible, but otherwise you're not going to see it a whole lot. But otherwise, yes, just to emphasize, I had a lot of fun playing this game, especially with another person. And I could go into everything, but I'll give you a great example. You know, they like to use this jukebox skill that makes people start dancing and having fun. And so while she's running around kind of making them freeze up and pause, here I am using like the dislocator gun, which will shoot an enemy and it'll make them bounce all over the place and hit people and bounce around a room. And then there's things like a meteor strike, or you can disguise yourself and take over people's bodies. I mean, there are 100 ways you can do any objective in this game, and it really gives you the creativity to make it yours. And so for that, pair it with a pretty easy level of difficulty. It was a lot of fun, I gotta say. In the replayability sense, you know, with that creativity, and once you get towards the end of the game, you'll have a lot of new things that you've unlocked throughout. And so I used that opportunity to go back and do these optional objectives that I missed. And again, you know, it really changed the gameplay and style because you don't get restricted to any of these older weapons that you had at the beginning of the game you originally used to accomplish these objectives. And so I found it freed up an opportunity to make things easier or to quicken the pace of items or make these optional objectives more achievable. And so I did have a lot of fun replaying these missions. Would I go back and play the whole game from beginning to end? That might be a lot with the big catalog that I have, but I did enjoy what I did replay. Now, the funny thing about doing all that side content is that the game story mission is like 10 hours, but then if you were to go for that completionist sense, you'll probably spend a good 25 or 30 here. So to triple that content and to expect that level of commitment from people who want to complete it, I do think is a lot. But how could I complain too much about the developer giving us more content? And so again, I think that's pretty fine and fair. So to kind of conclude overall, Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed is a great game. I get a lot of nostalgia from it. The reason why is, growing up, I would get these Game Informer magazines, and I had a demo disc with the original Destroy All Humans demo on it. And I always wanted to pick them up, but as a kid, I just didn't have the disposable income to do it. And so it is exciting to see them remaster this game, because it's one that I always wanted to visit, and it was just always sitting in my wish list. But here it was, and when they advertised it and said, hey, come play with a friend, I knew it was an immediate buy. I think that alone warrants you picking it up if you have somebody to enjoy it with. But if you don't, you'll still have a good experience, you'll have a lot of fun, and I think it'll be worth the dollars that you spend on it, as the game is not overall too expensive. But don't expect anything too exciting from like a story lens or a sound, situation, or graphically the game's not going to overall impress you. But I think you will get a lot of fun out of the tools and the creativity that they allow you to kind of employ along the journey for the game. But anyways, that's all I really wanted to say. I appreciate you sticking around. If you've played Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, what did you think about it? Especially from the lens of the original versus this re-release title. And also, what do you think THQ Nordic's plan is with this IP? I'm curious to know what you think. And what I was mentioning prior was, I don't think the writing would hold up in today's world. I think that the gameplay would need to evolve. But I would like to see, if they were planning to do a new game in this series, kind of what that plan would be. So anyways, whether here or not, really appreciate you tuning in. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Take care.